Hi there, I'm Juliana Carroll, and this is my sister and partner in Coffee and Tech, Lisa Jackson. Together, we are your hosts here at the Coffee Tech Talk Show, exploring anything and everything to do with work orchestration and automation. We're building a community of people who can share, learn, and grow together.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Tech Talk Show. I am Lee Jackson, and as always, I'm here with my sister, Juliana Carroll. Say hello, Jay.
Hi, everybody.
And we have a very special guest today that we want to introduce to you, Mr. Juno Lee. But let me tell you a little bit about him. He is the co-founder and CEO of Talis AI, the managing general partner of kbean.com, and Chief Security Officer of Apricity Health. Did I say all that right, Juno?
Yes. Thank you.
He's doing a lot.
You're a busy man.
And may I mention, he's also the former Senior VP and Group CIO for the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. So with that said, I'm going to let you, Juno, explain to everyone what it is that you do currently. What does all that mean?
Let me just briefly talk about what I do. I was very passionate about how leading technology will impact people. And I would like to see it impact and influence people in the right way in the society in general. So jump into the AI side, not because of AI is something that's sexy and trendy, but really wanted to make sure that any machine-driven decision or recommendation is really helping people make a quote-unquote machine to be accountable to our daily lives. And that was my passion, and that's what I do for Talis. Now the KBean is something that I started immediately after I left the Federal Reserve, San Francisco and New York. It's a way for a digital art the industry to transform. Now, if you look at the art industry, now you hear this one a lot, right? Like art is so expensive to afford, yet the artists are so poor. And why is that? And the whole industry is in some way broken because it's not democratized. So this whole concept of ability to use the co-sharing model. I mean, like you see Uber, you see Airbnb. How can we possibly do that for digital art or digital content? And it's a way for securely tokenized so that the authorship and the authenticity of the artwork is intact. Yet consumers can be able to buy these art in very, very affordable price, like as low as like a few dollars. So that was our concept, and that's what we do on KB.
It's a long way from where we first met.
Far from what we used to do, yes.
So let me ask you, how did you two meet? How did you and my sister meet, and how long ago?
It was when I think when I had not having a gray hairs, right? So probably several decades. Right. So I think the Juliana's team and the company all along supported the I should say enabler for the business. So yes, it was technology, but technology components is just so key to ability to run our business, such as a trading floor work, cybersecurity work, and Juliana's company and solutions always helped us to get that things automated and enabled and carry on our business securely.
It's a small world, right? It's a small world. Yeah. So yeah, Juno and I, we did work together back in the days when I just first started in Wall Street, and Juno, you were still the junior, right? This is before your law degree and all that kind of stuff, before the Fed. And then fast forward literally over 10 years since, we didn't speak because we were all busy. And I was in a meeting with some Federal Reserve people, and then later on, one of Pam, one of the Fed's people, came up and said, "You're Juliana Carroll." I'm like, "Yes," and she's like, "You know Juno, right?" I'm like, "Juno Lee?" And then we connected again, and so we made sure not to lose touch since then.
Yeah. No, I
Nice.
think that's a good one to have you might drill on just a little bit because it wasn't just a meeting. I think it was really a way to make a right thing to do for the banking sectors.
Yeah.
So you guys may remember 2008 financial crisis, and then the
Mm,
exit out of the financial crisis, the Fed's involvement and oversight of all the SIFI banks, the
mm,
systematically important the financial institution called the SIFI. And Juliana was at the Deutsche Bank, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So which is one of the largest SIFI banks. And our effort was to really transform how we exchange the data day-to-day basis between SIFI banks and the Fed so that our regulatory activity can be monitored in more ongoing basis
mm.
rather than once in a blue moon doing some audit, which is just not going to work. And that's how we met. Well, how we reconnected, I should say.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So I got to ask you, from a very corporate finance world, you went to entrepreneurship and you went into cryptocurrency. What made you go into cryptocurrency?
Um, I mean, was in more in the camp of, really leveraging that, lack of better term, fintech,
Mm-hmm.
more adoptable by public. The truth is, if you look at the even Bitcoin, again, I do not trade Bitcoins. However, Bitcoin is one of a successful example of that a grassroots effort of the people who did not want to rely on large banking to move their monies. Now, one can criticize that's a negative, but at the same time, it is one of the movement that actually made it work. So the reason I jumped out is that I was on one side of the camp trying to regulate and help the regulations of the financial industry, but I thought we were falling behind the speed of a fintech execution, being not only just being implemented, being adopted, around the world. So I would like to be on the other side to see how that can be adopted and really help the public to use other means of a payment and exchange of a values.
So, and there's a lot to be said about that, right? I mean, on one side, you still have that, you had that experience being the regulator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now, as an entrepreneur, still in the arena, you know what to watch out for. You know how to
Yeah,
do this right, right?
yeah.
And then, should this thing go off and you have another exit, which is very possible, and they come to you and say, "Hey, help us again." Now you know what's on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how to regulate without slowing down innovations and change, right? And how to be a partner to change and so on.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think that before you tell somebody what to do, you ought to experience it yourself.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think that I had that experience. So I was exposed to a bunch of groups of people in MIT that who had so much energy to make this work in other sectors, but they completely lacked what to watch out for.
Right.
In fact,
Mm,
their good intention their good intention may harm those people who they want to serve.
Right.
So when I got exposed to that energy, there was a lot of clicks. In fact, that's how I jump into the crypto world and blockchain world, and why, in fact, I picked digital art industry, because technology is there, enabler is definitely there. It's more about the society and the cultural impact of using something that was never been circulated before, right? So you can imagine back several thousands of years ago, when your husband went outside with a cow and just came back with like two pieces of paper, and what the hell, what just happened, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. We got a bunch of pieces of paper, think that we own something, but now you're saying, well, you know what? There's really nothing there except there's a crypto wallet, and you got all these things available. You can't get that grasp. Something tangible become completely intangible.
Yeah.
Yet
okay.
there's a value to it. So I think it's more of public policy and the cultural issues of this, but it is here to stay. And that's why I picked the digital art industry, because it's a small microeconomy, fairly closed, and the industry needs help. the change. What I mean by that, and I thought this could have potentially helped this particular economy.
I like that term, that you use, the digital art.
Right.
I'm going to take that and start using that
Yeah.
when I'm talking about
Yeah.
technology.
Right.
I like it.
Right.
It's an actual product, actually, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, art is in many forms, right? So in our business too, being creative, it's the art of something.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. I wanted to ask you a couple more questions before we jump into the work questions. For those people out here who are a little skeptical about having a cashless society, is cryptocurrency something that would be, good to invest in, number one, and how do you put people at ease?
Wow, that's a loaded question. But I can probably talk about the pros and cons and maybe what to watch out for, not in the perspective of investment, but in the perspective of if you are trying to implement something with a crypto way of doing things. So let's talk about the cashless society. I mean, the truth is the use of cash is actually, the volume is going up, not as exponentially, but it's still going up. So the circulations of a cash volume continually grows. Yet when you're looking at the overall value exchange, at the same time, there are more people, again, another growth of adopting other means of exchange. So I think a total volume of value exchange in terms of a cash or the crypto coins or any other even barter transaction things, it is happening. So because its over volume is going up, I think cash is still going to be here for a long time. Now, with that said, let's talk about the cryptocurrency. Just like how and when the cell phone became very popular in those countries like Finland and others, where they just did not have enough of an infrastructure to run actual hardware cable, they start using wireless communication as a means of doing it. So I think cash and the payment is going to be similar, where those places where that you don't have ATM, they're actually, in fact, the country does not have an infrastructure to distribute cash, securely to the people. I think because those people already owns mobile phones and mobile devices, what is the value that you can store on your mobile phone? That will be likely cryptocurrencies or crypto means of carrying the payment method. So if we are thinking it that way, I think that the cryptocurrency versions of the payment will continually grow. The fact that I think Bitcoin survived for a while, and so is Ethereum, is actually doing really well. We know that those will continue to stay. I think what we should do, in my subjective opinion, is that use that technology, use that cryptocurrency as a way to solve some other problem. And again, I use that to see how we can help digital art industry where art can be more publicly used or be able to get distributed with affordable price. And that's just one example. But you can do something similar, even healthcare world, for example. The healthcare medical records are so complex these days. And how can we have a trace of who changed what record, who saw it, the whole provenance and trail, only authorized by you? Can blockchain variant solution help? Absolutely, it can. So maybe these are some of I think folks can really think about how to apply some of these cryptocurrency as a way to solve other business issue. I think it's a good first step to break in.
So in regards to medical records, our mom, she's actually a retired registered nurse, and she did that, back in the day. So can you dive a little bit deeper on that? How is that going to help the translation? I didn't really pick up or understand what you were saying there.
Yeah, so unlike some other smaller countries, U.S. has a very diverse populations, and the record and the even law is all statewide, right? So what happens is For example, let's just say I have an allergy to penicillin, and I know I have it, but if I get into the, let's say, car accident or something, I'm not able to speak, and they carry me out to one of the hospitals. This hospital has no record of me. They don't know anything about me. They will spend time looking for what's going on in me. And meantime, they may make me. Some people actually have tattoo written on their chest that what they're allergic to, or what to do, what not to do, just in case they somehow pass out. Or let's even think about the kids. Same thing. And all of us, right, fairly being professional. Do you even remember the name of medication? These are complex words. So I know I'm giving a kind of long-winded answer, but what it is that that information needs to be securely accessible. Now, what I mean by that, it could be on your phone, it could be centrally stored somewhere, and also the people who's reading that information, they have to make sure that that information is something it really came from you or someone that you authorize, which is like your own doctor.
Yeah.
That traceability is key to adoption. If that traceability is not available and people do not trust that, nobody's going to use it. And that's actually what happened. I think Siemens, GE, they tried to solve this problem for longest time, over 20 plus years. How come it's not still solved yet? Why did Google even give up Google Health and now kind of coming back again? These are not something that we can solve from top down saying, hey, law requires you to do this and now let's all do this together. It doesn't work that way here in US. And I think people needs to buy into, they got to build that credibility. The solution provider and the industry and the public needs to build that credibility of that lack of better than traceability is what I'm calling it. And can blockchain help? Probably, because blockchain in the philosophical sense, no one really owns anything. It's so distributed that everybody is somehow involved there. So can that be part of a gaining and earning public trust? I guess the time will tell.
So one of the things that you have to think about is data as value. Okay. So the $1 bill that is on paper is not the paper that is of value, but the representation of a currency, like the value. So in digital art, there is a value. That value is very subjective, right? But for a blue, black, and white painting, Juno would pay $100. Me, I probably would not pay $1 because it matches nothing in my house, nor does it resonate to me. There are other people that that value that, right? So for them, or they value the painter themselves. This expression of, but it's a value that associate to that that product, and that product could be digital data, right? So the value though diminishes with trust and also increases with trust, right? So you trust that digital art came from Kate, let's say, and you value Kate, right? But if somebody else paint the same thing but it wasn't Kate, you wouldn't value that thing.
That's right. That's right.
So you need the provenance. You need the whatever mechanism it is that trace that particular value in an art, or in this case my data privacy, to its original source. So Bitcoin is a way for you, cryptocurrency is a way for you to have this lineage of provenance, who owns it, who had it, and then have multiple distributed people vet it, that it wasn't transferred, right? So if you want to think about the use of crypto in this case, right, as a way of a distributed vetting whether something is true or not. Right. So that's where the value is which is similar to the way that the government backs that $1. Right. So for instance, if I had, a crypto ring and in it is that I'm allergic to pineapple, and it's been, secured, right? By this mechanism, then the hospital that is going to save my life or not know that that is a trusted data because it has secured, right?
Yep.
That's the value to me is my life.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
That means everything to me. I would pay for that.
Right. Okay. All right. So, we're going to jump right into some of other questions that we have for you. Just curious, let's start with work. How do you define work? What is work to you?
Work. So I think I could have probably give a more clear answer if you asked me that question 3 years ago when I actually had a day job going in and out. And I can tell you exactly what this is work and what's life.
Right.
I do have to say, in some sense, it's hard to define for me now because I feel like every day, every hour, even while I'm sleeping, feels like work at the same time as life. So the work to me, if I really want to define this way, if anything, the work that I do using my own talents and God-given the energy and talents to help to others, I would call that as work. But I think that's also my life at the same time. So sorry, I'm being too philosophical, but that's what I feel like these days.
No. I think that's true, right? And welcome to entrepreneurship. That's pretty much what it is. You eat, sleep, breathe, work, unfortunately. Yeah. But I think that as an entrepreneur, we all have to have that balance, right? And know how to separate your time, what's for work, what's for family, what's for fun, all those good things. But I guess, it's been said many times, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. I think that was the proper quote.
well said.
So how do you determine a job well done? In the past, when you have employees, people that report to you, and currently, how do you determine that?
Yeah, so what I learned is really the same disciplines when I used to work for the larger corporations. There's a certain goals that you set, and you have to hit that goal. And myself and all my team members get to stress out to achieve that goals, right? I think that stays the same, except that it's probably much. I wouldn't call this, negative stress. These are positive, energized stress where we have certain targets that what I want to do, and that target is not something like benefiting myself, but this target is something that I have a vision that aligns to help that particular customers or to help enabling certain solution to be available. So as long as I hit the target, I would call that a job well done. And especially when you see that milestone is something that a user can start using it, and then you hear even like a single user telling me that, this works. That sentence right there, this works. It's not even a great job. This works. Then you know what? It's a job well done for me.
Right. In your mind, that's a good job well done, right? When it works. So in regards to management styles, what do you think works best, in your experience?
So, you do hear a lot from management training, and I think there's a theme of certain management training, but I think management of a leadership and management of the people around you is really subjective. I think each person have his own style, and you gotta maximize that style that works for, not just for you, works for the people around you. Now, I use the word carefully around you because I'm not talking about those people who reports to you. It's in fact around you as the including your peers, which actually I did not do such a good job. When I used to work for the Fed. Lessons learned, and also around you as my boss, around you as my customer. So when you look at overall totality around you, that all becomes a part of all your leadership style and management. Then, just because you are someone's boss does not mean these people will listen to you. and they don't need to listen to you. And when you have all these ecosystem of quote unquote again around you, then people, even if you don't tell them, they all somehow figured out what you want, and it just happened magically. And I think trying to get to that point is extremely difficult. It's not an easy thing. But again, kind of going back to credibility of that, people who report to you needs to know that you have their back, and me as the manager sincerely cares about their overall well-being. Again, not just their job, overall well-being, and your peers are all trusting you to the point where that they feel like I am part of them, so that we can all collaborate as a peers instead of doing a political fight. And your customer who can always rely on you. And I know I used to be Juliana's customer quite often. Even if I scream at you, she always smiled at me like, come on, Juno, what the hell, right? Then everything kind of figures it out. I mean, that level of a relationship gives you a good management style. I think finding that balance of all overall four cores, I think will give you a good management style.
It's hard for me to see you yelling or screaming at her. You have such a demeanor that if you were my boss or if you were my peer, I would be like, you're such a easygoing guy. Is that true, Juliana?
No. So when we you know how it is. Company gives you all these assessment about your personality test.
Yes.
So I came with the two different peak, which is kind of almost like competing each other. One basically says like the way how you were saying, calm, reserved, and another peak says like bulldozers, like somehow like being very upfront and in some cases controversial or too confrontational.
Okay.
So I got confused because I did not know how to kind of adjust myself in terms of leadership and management style. So I did an interview casually, many people asking, what do you think? How do you see me? I found a pattern. Those people who knew me long enough says calm, reserved, friendly, easy to approach, things like that. Those people who does not know me that well, or maybe the still shorter period of time that I never smile, cold. In fact, one of a person now who is my part of the partner in one of our effort, he in fact said he was told, because I met him about 20 years ago, first time he came to the Fed, and he was told, don't talk to Juno unless he talks to you first. I mean, so there is such a two different perspective of the myself. So lessons learned to me was that be consistent about my personality, the way how I approach things. So it's like an unspoken bond that needs to be created between between people. And that unspoken bond is only available when the two people is real. Even in our the working in professional contact, I think that's the same. Yeah. So well said.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're in a professional environment, I mean, for a lot of us, I mean, and we touch on this a little bit when we were getting to know each other. It's the perception, right? You want to make a good impression, and you as a female in business, we put this wall, and I think especially now, in the virtual world, we need to be able to come across as our personality even more so, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, and speaking of that, more and more, we're in this virtual world. What trends are you seeing? And now that trade shows and events have all are going to virtual, just like CES has announced that, and many other shows. How do you feel about that? And what kind of trends do you see?
So adoption of virtual interaction, I think it will continue. Even if a pandemic is all managed, this is going to be a new norm. More people owning their own risk. I think that trend will uptick, which means that before maybe people did not I mean, they cared, but it wasn't as an important factor as knowing what risk am I taking going into the trade show or attending going somewhere. So owning of your own risk and also somehow informing those people around you of that risk, I think that trend will open up a little bit, and then you will probably pick up more. Now, talking about a trade show virtual experience, so we tried virtual experience. So there are a couple things that I learned, which I think we can probably map to the current as well as going for even future, especially for trade show where physical presence is quite important. I still think that there is something you can do with the virtual and replace the physical presence, and there's something you cannot.